Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán's trip to Russia and China and Budapest's position on the European Union's assistance to Ukraine, these were the topics discussed by the heads of diplomatic departments of the EU member states at a meeting in Brussels. Immediately after Hungary began its rotating 6-month presidency of the Council of the EU, Prime Minister Viktor Orbán went on visits to Kyiv, Moscow and Beijing. He himself called it a peacekeeping mission. The vast majority of foreign ministers criticized Orbán's uncoordinated actions. European diplomacy chef Joseph Borrell said, moreover, high-level diplomatic meetings scheduled for August were decided to be held in Brussels instead of Budapest.
I understood that we have to send a signal, even if it is a symbolic signal, that being against the foreign policy of the European Union and disqualifying the policy of the European Union as the party of war has to have some consequences. Well, formal consequences, symbolic consequences, nothing grave will happen, but I think it was much more appropriate to show this feeling and to call for the next Foreign and Defence Council meetings, informal, in Brussels, when we come back from holidays.
Although the transfer of official meetings from Budapest to Brussels is a symbolic gesture, the EU is already debating whether Hungary should stay in the Union, given the significant divisions in values. Finnish Foreign Minister Elina Valtonen emphasized that Hungary's bilateral diplomacy should not give the impression that it represents the EU when Prime Minister Orbán visits Moscow and Beijing.
At some point, the question may arise whether the European Union is the right reference group if the ideas are so very different from our common values. And of course, at some point, if there is a strong conflict between actions and values, then, at least from my point of view, values win out. Elina Valtonen, Minister for Foreign Affairs of Finland, in a comment to the Finnish publication Lilsimen Sanomat.
I think that both in China and Russia there is an understanding that Orbán is engaged in solving narrow corporate interests, defending his own interests, but in no way represents the position of the European Union.
Although analysts do not expect radical decisions by the European Union regarding Hungary in the near future, Budapest may still face certain difficulties. On July 17th, Kyiv blocked the transit of Russian oil through the Druzhba pipeline to Hungary. Ukraine imposed sanctions on the Russian company Lukoil back in 2018, and in 2024 the National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine significantly expanded them by banning the transit of oil through the country. Budapest called such actions unacceptable. Hungary and Slovakia asked the European Union to help persuade Ukraine to remuse the transit of Russian oil.
Orbán's statements and actions are in no way coordinated with the EU, not directly and not on behalf of the EU. This will lead to the fact that when controversial situations arise, the EU will definitely not be on Hungary's side.
Hungary's foreign minister has threatened to sue Ukraine if Kyiv does not resume the transit of Russian oil. Meanwhile, Budapest continues to block the European Peace Fund, which finances arms supplies to Ukraine. Reported by Anastasia Tarnavska, Nikita Skoblikov, UATV News.